Michael Hironimus, CCIM. I am out of the Portland, Oregon metro area. I'm the founder of CRE Tech Integrations. We help middle and large size companies integrate technology, artificial intelligence into their business. Technology has increased just exponentially in these past couple of years. Obviously, the artificial intelligence emergence really kickstarted all of this for me in particular. That has been just continually increasing in the pace of new adoption, also the pace of new large language models, the pace of new tools that accompany those. So it's been a very difficult time, and I know it's difficult for a lot of businesses to try to keep up. It's even difficult for us to keep up sometimes, but technology is playing a much more increased role, I think, in a lot of companies, specifically commercial real estate companies. And they're all wanting to know how to integrate that into their workflows in real time, which can be difficult, but it's also really fulfilling. We do these comprehensive audits. So what we do is we'll take all of the levels of the organization, we interview them and ask them about their bottlenecks, their pain points, what's their average day look like, what tools are they using, where do they see room for maybe automation, or where they're doing a lot of repetitive tasks. So we take all of that information, usually about 20 people, stakeholders in their company. We synthesize all that data, put together sort of a roadmap for them to integrate technology into their companies and provide it there. They decide ultimately what they want to do, but usually they hire us to go ahead and do those implementations for them. Well, IntelliSite for a lot of commercial real estate companies is the central hub for information, right? We obviously have Business Analyst and ArcGIS and Database USA and all of these incredible tools that they can go to as a centralized hub for what they need. You know, commercial real estate is all about data and curating data and analyzing data, especially as CCIMs. And to be able to go to one central location, grab the data that you need is really key. And it's something that we try to integrate in every company. Well, when we're doing any type of analysis, talking about site selection, talking about comparisons for different geographies, that gives us an opportunity to uncover all of these different elements that go into it. So you're talking about demographics, psychographics. You can bring in some custom data. What that does is that allows you to look visually and understand the data and what's happening boots on the ground. But you can't see that when you're actually there. But if you take this map and this 30,000 foot view, overlay all this information, suddenly all of this comes into focus and you can see exactly what's going on in those areas. So it's fantastic. And then you can, we've got filtering tools, right? Within Business Analyst specifically, where you can filter out, some of the noise and just be left with the highest concentration of whatever it is that you need. Those insights are just so incredibly valuable. One of the things is a lot of the companies that we work with have a very fragmented tech stack, meaning they've got one technology that does this one thing, one technology that does this one thing. And a lot of times they don't really talk to each other. It's very difficult to do. With IntelliSite, what makes it really valuable is that there's a lot of different tools in one area already. So it's not like you have to go to a whole bunch of different sites, right? They're all on the same dashboard. So you don't have to worry about this sort of fragmented tech stack on a lot of the, platforms that you're trying to look at. The other thing is a lot of the data that we have in there, you can't get anywhere else, at least in such a large curated way. With our partner Esri having so many variables, they have tens of thousands of variables to be able to choose from. Pictometry with all of the photos that you can grab, aerials, Database USA to be able to filter just about every business in the United States and Canada. All of that's right there at your fingertips. You don't have to go and switch between technologies, right? So that's really important. Yeah, well, I think the one that I find the most fascinating is the new language model that they're putting inside of IntelliSite. One of the difficulties in the past was Esri, and specifically Business Analyst, is so robust. It can sometimes be a little difficult to navigate, especially for the novice user. What we're doing now with the language model inside of IntelliSite is being able to use natural language to elicit that information so much more easily now and put it into reports and visualize it. All those things that are the sort of hallmarks of artificial intelligence, of just being able to talk to it in a natural language. And we're bringing that to IntelliSite, which I think is amazing. And it's going to open up and unlock a lot of opportunities for folks who may have been a little more standoffish with the technology in the past. The new language model is a piece of that. The other thing that artificial intelligence is really good at repetition, and it's really good at large data summarization. So when we're talking about, Business Analyst, Esri, Database USA, pulling out large lists, the ability for artificial intelligence to take that big data and summarize it and put it in a more digestible format is really one of its strengths. And so we can take large amounts of data from Esri, from Business Analyst, drop it into a language model, and then just start to ask it questions about the area, about the data, what trends are you seeing? Things that you would take a long time to go through the pages and pages and pages of data. It can cut through all of that in seconds and give you visuals and give you narrations. That's really changed the game for a lot of folks, especially the ones that deal in big data. Because in commercial real estate, it's all about time, right? Speed to underwrite properties, speed to write LOIs, speed to close on deals. IntelliSite, with the tools that we have, and now with large language models to be able to digest all that information quickly, it's completely changed the game. The speed of business has really been increasing. So the ability for somebody to take all these large amounts of data, if you can be the first one in to give an offer, or you can be the first one to, uncover perhaps areas to invest in faster than your competition, that's obviously going to translate to better income, better reputation, probably more opportunities in the future. So it just compounds itself. One of the things that when I'm teaching and I'm teaching technology and about AI, a lot of things that sort of tend to be kind of obvious to me, at least, but not obvious to them, is that you can use artificial intelligence. One of the best ways to use it is to brainstorm and to uncover ideas about what it is you're trying to do. I have this analogy where if you were to walk into a boardroom, right, and you had the smartest people that you've ever met in your life, right, and you could have a CEO, COO, CFO, director of marketing, whoever you want in your boardroom. That's what you can do with artificial intelligence. You can create all of these personas inside of a boardroom and then ask them questions. And so the way the students ask me a lot of times is, how do you approach it? How do you just get started? And it's just think about that. If you were to walk into a boardroom, you can ask anybody any questions that you wanted to. And you could bounce ideas off of them and talk to them just as if we're talking right now. And suddenly that, for whatever reason, that tends to kick the light bulb off for a lot of folks. Like, oh, I didn't think about that before. I can really get kickstarted with understanding how to sort of, talk back and forth with it. That's the biggest thing, is just getting started with the technology, specifically artificial intelligence. Within IntelliSite, for sure, Business Analyst. I mean, it's really amazing software, what Esri has created, because you have this, basically a map, clean map, and you can layer on as much data as you want. And then you can filter the data. You can do comparisons for geographies. You can bring in your own custom data. If you've got property data, you can overlay into that. And then once again, just sort of get a great visual on what's happening in those areas. It's all about location intelligence, and that's basically what commercial real estate is commercial intelligence, right? You're trying to uncover investments in areas, in locations that will give you a return of what you're looking for. You can't know what to put into financial analysis spreadsheets. You can't understand the numbers, the underlying numbers, if you don't analyze the market first, understand what's going on. What are the trends that are occurring? Whether it's employment or population growth or business growth. Those sorts of things are the things you can uncover inside of Business Analyst. And if you're not using that as a first step to understand what's going on with commercial real estate, I don't think you're doing yourself a favor or your clients. I started using Business Analyst as soon after I became a CCIM candidate. So once I got a taste of that and understood what was going on, truly, that was when sort of the light bulb went off for me. And being able to, once again, look at all those vast amounts of data and start to uncover, and it works so well with our curriculum, CCIM's curriculum. You know, in 102, which I teach market analysis, the ability to take them through how we analyze markets, but also use the actual tools to be able to do that. I think that's one of the best, not only member benefits, but student benefits. When we constantly talk with students, they are like, we want to know more about IntelliSite. We want to know more about Business Analyst. Like, they're really thirsty for that information. Because once again, it goes perfectly with our curriculum. It goes perfectly with what they're doing in their day-to-day business. It's really been invaluable. I will say, if you're not using IntelliSite, you're leaving money on the table.